A girl named Emily gets a creepy old house from her family. But the house is alive. It eats people's fear. Ghosts whisper, paintings bleed, and something under the floor scratches. Emily tries to escape, but the house traps her forever. Now, it waits for the next victim. Would you go inside? The hollows of Blackthorn Manor. The air tasted like rust and decay as Emily pushed open the iron gates of Blackthorn Manor. The estate had been abandoned for a century, left to rot after the unspeakable tragedy that devoured the Blackthorn family. But the lawyer's letter claimed she was the last living heir. Inheritance, it promised. A new beginning asterisk. The mansion loomed ahead, its windows shattered like jagged teeth. Vines clawed up the walls, throttling the stone. Emily's flashlight trembled in her grip as she stepped inside. The door creaked shut behind her, sealing with a finality that made her ribs tighten. That first night, the whispers began. They slithered from the walls, hisses of a language long forgotten. Emily jolted awake at 3:03 a.m., her breath visible in the icy air. Something scratched beneath the floorboards. Slow, deliberate, like claws dragging through rot. She told herself it was rats. But then the portraits began to bleed. The Blackthorn ancestors, their oil-painted eyes hollow, oozed thick, black sludge down the frames. The stench of sulfur choked the halls. Emily found herself trapped in nightmares even when awake. Shadows pooling into human shapes, a child's laughter echoing from the sealed nursery, the sound of a rocking chair creaking, empty. In the cellar, she uncovered the truth. Scrawled in blood on the damp walls were symbols, a twisted amalgam of Enochian and something older, darker. Journals buried beneath rubble revealed her great-grandmother, Agnes Blackthorn, was no mere socialite. She'd been a conduit, binding souls to the manor through rituals. The house must feed, asterisk Agnes wrote, her handwriting frenzied. It hungers for the fearful. Asterisk. The scratching grew louder, closer. On the fifth night, Emily woke to cold fingers gripping her ankle. She screamed, thrashing against the weight dragging her off the bed. Her flashlight flickered, illuminating nothing. But she felt it. A presence, ancient and ravenous, its breath rancid against her neck. She fled to the foyer, only to find the front door gone. In its place, a solid wall of bone, warm and pulsating. The walls began to weep. Blood seeped from cracks, pooling into viscous tendrils that slithered toward her. The whispers crescendoed into screams. Emily stumbled into the nursery, where the rocking chair now held a silhouette. A woman in a tattered gown, her face a featureless void. The air turned glacial. "You belong to the house now," the figure rasped, its voice a chorus of the damned. Emily's vision blurred. The floor dissolved, plunging her into a cavernous void. Above, the manor's walls writhed with faces, the Blackthorns, their mouths stretched in silent agony. She tried to scream, but her throat filled with blackened roots, anchoring her to the earth. The last thing she saw was Agnes, smiling from the shadows. Epilogue. Urban explorers broke into Blackthorn Manor a year later, lured by rumors of the haunted heiress. They found the walls intact, the floors pristine. But in the nursery, a new portrait hung. A young woman with wild eyes, her mouth frozen mid-scream. And at 3:03 a.m., the scratching begins. This story weaves isolation, ancestral curses, and a sentient, malevolent house to create relentless dread. The ending loops the horror, inviting readers to imagine the cycle repeating, perhaps with